How are you going to navigate this holiday season in a way that you can enjoy it? The rug is being pulled out and like, oh, I thought everything was going to go perfect. And now, this person's having a meltdown or these people are having a fight now. Whatever happens, whatever chaos ensues, if you go into it knowing like, something's probably going to go wrong and your expectations are maybe a little more realistic, then that can really help. Because at the end of the day, we still want to connect with our loved ones who are able to connect with us and enjoy the magic of the season as much as we can. Hi friends, welcome back. Today we are talking about how to navigate the holidays with a narcissist in the family. This is a topic of, how do we handle these really difficult people that we're kind of stuck with? They're in our life or they're in our family or in our extended family, but they cause a lot of problems. And so, this episode is really almost like a little support group for those of us who really have to deal with that. And the holidays, unfortunately, can make it way worse. And so, I want to really normalize your frustrations and, maybe even some dread that you're feeling, knowing that these family gatherings are coming up and these different special occasions and holiday traditions and things where you're in a position of how are we going to navigate this, right? What's going to happen? So I've got a few things for you today that will hopefully maybe prepare you or help you to deal with it in a way that you're able to still enjoy your holidays, connect with your loved ones who are available to connect, and really to keep your self-care and your mental, emotional health as a priority in this very busy, often chaotic holiday season. So really, just wanting to reiterate and kind of normalize the fact that when we have someone who has, narcissistic tendencies or really demonstrates toxic behavior, and kind of everyone in the family knows like this is the difficult person, it definitely seems to get worse at the holiday season. And some of this is because, having the holiday season and having these different traditions and things, this person might not feel that they are the center of attention in the way that they feel comfortable being. And so there might be attempts made to put themselves at the center of attention, whether that be refusing to attend a family gathering or insisting that a family gathering happen in the way that they need it to happen. And so really just normalizing the fact that these people flare up during the holidays. It happens. And so as you're, just thinking about the holidays and as we're approaching, next week we have Thanksgiving and then we have, Christmas holidays and New Year's and all of these things, kind of sitting back and maybe taking a deep breath and just realizing like something's going to come up. And when we're prepared, when we just know like, okay, this is very likely going to happen. And depending on how long this person has been in your life, you probably already know this, but sometimes it can feel good to be in a little bit of denial and just think, well, maybe this year will be different. So maybe in this moment, just acknowledging to yourself, maybe to your support system that like, hey, during this holiday season, this person in my life is likely going to be a problem in some way. And just even acknowledging it to yourself can help you feel prepared and will maybe take away from that feeling we can sometimes get of like the rug is being pulled out and like, oh, I thought everything was going to go perfect. And now, this person's having a meltdown or these people are having a fight now. Whatever happens, whatever chaos ensues, if you go into it knowing like something's probably going to go wrong and your expectations are maybe a little more realistic, then that can really help. As things unfold the way they will, just knowing, hey, I was prepared because I didn't expect everything to go perfectly. This person needs to be the center of attention, And if it's negative attention, it's still attention. And so they're having their meltdown. It's okay. I knew it was going to happen. So hopefully that can help. Another thing that can often happen when you're dealing with the narcissistic family member around the holidays is that gift giving can become weaponized. And I just want that term to kind of sink in, because when I read this term, I was like, that is so true. You think of gift giving as just something we do out of love. Maybe sometimes we do it out of obligation, but you're doing it because you care for the other person, and it's, this is this time of giving. But when you are dealing with a narcissistic family member, I'm laughing a little bit because I've seen this happen many times where gift giving can be weaponized. And just a simple example of that is where, maybe certain favored family members get gifts that are maybe a lot more extravagant than family members who, the narcissist isn't fond of. And sometimes it can just be very blatant, right? So that is something to kind of just put on your radar that, like, if this happens, it's something that happens to a lot of people, right? Like, this is a normal experience when we're dealing with people who have these, these features and these habits of, narcissism and toxic behaviors. Another thing is, again, becoming the center of attention by ruining a family event or ruining a holiday party, right? If they're the center of attention, that's the goal, right? And so for you, maybe you're putting on the event and, you've put a lot of work into it and cooking and cleaning and decorating and all of that. And when this family member arrives or whatever happens and they make it all about them, and the special occasion could feel like it's ruined. And so really just, again, setting our expectations and realizing that if we're choosing to engage with these different family members, that's a possibility, right? It's almost like we're playing Russian roulette of, okay, if I invite them, if I try to include the whole family and this and that, there's a high chance that something is going to happen to make it all about them, and it might feel that the special occasion has been ruined. So this also kind of plays into our having to weigh out, the pros and cons of, do we try to include this person? And it really depends on where you are with them and the history and the attempts in the past and things of that nature. But that is something we're going to get to, of like, that is a decision of, do we include this person who is notoriously narcissistic and makes everything about themselves and has a pattern of ruining family gatherings? Do we include them, or do we make separate plans? So one of the best things that we can do around the holidays when we're dealing with these narcissistic friends, family members, and partners is really to try to detach and keep our cool as much as possible. And in previous episodes about narcissists, we have gone into this a lot, about really trying to stay in our rational brain and not allowing our lid to flip and to go into our, our real emotional limbic system, not allowing ourselves to really see red and get all fired up, because that really is what they want. That is their goal, is to get you all fired up so that you do some things that are regrettable. And then guess what? You're the problem. So keeping your cool, trying to keep a little of detachment, at least emotionally detached, not having all these expectations. So this kind of goes back to this idea of just accepting the fact that if you include them, there's going to be some problems, right? So we already have accepted that fact, and that's going to help us when it happens, really to keep our cool more, because it's like, hey, we knew this was a possibility. We played the Russian roulette and we've lost. So here it is. I'm going to stay cool, calm, and collected while it plays out, right? Not relying on the narcissistic family member, right? This is so important, because depending on how the wind blows that day, they might show up, they might not show up. If you were expecting them to bring the turkey or the pie and they don't show up, not relying on them for anything that's really important. That's really key to being able to really navigate this whole issue of having a narcissistic family member or someone in your circle who you have to deal with around the holidays, just knowing they're not going to be reliable, and understanding that it's a tough time for them. Kind of going back to the first point that like they need to be the center of attention. And when there's so much happening for the holidays and they're really not the center of attention, they might just flake out. And so as you put your plans in place, really making sure that you're not relying on them for anything that's really vital and important. Setting boundaries. So I think every time we talk about, dealing with people with toxic behavior or narcissistic personality traits, setting boundaries is so important in order to really protect ourselves as much as we can from their chaos and from their drama that they are going to really do their best to instigate. And so whatever boundaries you need, and maybe that boundary might be, hey, I'm going to host a holiday meal for the family. Maybe I'm not going to have it at my house. And maybe that's a boundary that you're going to set this year where you're like, hey, I'm going to include them, but I'm going to host it at this other place, maybe a restaurant or something where you're like, it's kind of neutral ground. It's more of a boundary. They're not in your space. They're not in your home, right? So that's just an idea for setting boundaries. And another one might be that you're only going to see them at one occasion versus maybe having them stay for a visit, right? So really thinking to yourself, like, what can you handle? And this might require thinking about past years of like, when did things get to be too much, right? Where was that moment where it was like, okay, that was too much? And trying to construct some boundaries to where you don't get yourself there again. So making plans without them as much as possible. And so depending on who this person is in your life, this could be easier or more difficult to pull off. But as much as you can, have your own holiday events, traditions, special moments where they're not involved and they can't get in there and cause the chaos and really, make things uncomfortable for you. And so again, just finding a way to create your own holiday. You're not relying on them. You have those boundaries. And maybe you just don't even include them, right? And being okay with that. And I think that's a piece that I can really offer you is permission, right? If there's someone in your life who is very damaging to you and who has a pattern of behavior where they treat you with disrespect and all of the things that anyone who has dealt with a narcissist has experienced, you have permission to not include them in your life, not include them in your holiday plans. And sometimes this can be such a difficult piece of it because they could be related to you, or they could be, somebody that you feel obligated to keep them in your life, even though having them in your life is causing you such detrimental, negative damage. And so getting to a place where you can give yourself permission to take care of yourself. And that's okay. And even if others are like, hey, that person's related to you or whatever, whoever they are, these social obligations that we feel pressure. If someone's not treating you with respect, if someone's not respecting your boundaries, it's okay to take a step back and to say like, hey, this is the line and you keep crossing it. And so I need a break, or this is it. And that's okay. And so getting support and validation, right? And this is something that's so vitally important when you have someone like this in your life, is to have others in your life who are available to connect, who treat you with love and respect, who are able to validate your feelings and your experience, right? There's nothing more powerful and healing than when the narcissist in your life has a meltdown on you and the person who is sitting next to you can turn to you and be like, that was messed up. Like, you didn't deserve to be treated that way. And to have that validation and that support, right? And so you know who the people are in your life who see you, who respect you, who love you, who will be there for you in these difficult moments, and who would support you in a decision to take a step away from this person. This person is causing the damage and not respecting the boundaries, and you've made this decision. Find these people in your life who are going to support you. And really now, as we're at the cusp of the holiday season starting and all of this, reaching out to your support system, right? And maybe setting a few coffee dates for the next few weeks of like, hey, let's get together on these scheduled dates, just so you can come together and support each other in whatever way you need, right? Putting support in place, knowing something's going to happen, the family drama is going to stir up. That's a given. So how can I have support scheduled for myself? Maybe you have a friend who you do a daily text with each other, or whatever it might be, a weekly phone call, like some way to stay connected and supported and really validated. That's the piece that when you're dealing with someone with the narcissistic personality traits, is just starting to doubt yourself and starting to feel like, am I the problem? Am I the crazy one? And so when you have that friend who's that sounding board, and you can, share your experiences with them, and they can be like, wow, that's crazy. I'm so sorry you had to deal with that, right? And you can have this validation from someone who really knows you. There's really no substitute for that. So along with that is really focusing on self-care. And self-care is something that this time of year with the holidays, it really gets pushed to the back. And really for a lot of us, especially mothers and people who have kids, and there's like so much we have to do to make the holidays, magical for everyone, and host the family and make the food and wrap the presents and all of that. And so really making a plan to focus on your self-care as a maintenance throughout this whole holiday season, so that you can really be supportive of yourself, right? And there's a lot of things that we can do, and we know the self-care, healthy coping and different things that we can do to make sure that we're at our best. And then we've put that social support in place, and we've set our expectation that like something's going to go down, right? We put our boundaries in place. And really that's the best that we can do as we, navigate the holiday season with a narcissist in our lives. And again, I just want to offer my support and validation to you as well. Just knowing like it's tough. Like it can really be tough to deal with someone who is trying to make it all about themselves and is really hurting a lot of people in the process. And so I hope that you have a great support system and that you take some time to really think about your self-care. Like, what am I going to do over the next few months to take care of myself? And so for me, my daily meditation and affirmations, daily exercise, these are all things that can really help us to just feel whole and to feel strong and to allow us to keep that detachment from really the tough emotions that can happen with, family in the holiday season. So I hope this has been helpful. I hope you don't have anyone in your life who has these narcissistic traits and is going to try to ruin your holidays. I really hope that for you. But for most of us, we do have one or two or three people who are going to flare up. And so for those of you who, it's coming, I hope this has been helpful. Drop us a comment. Let us know if this has happened to you before, what your plans are, right? How are you going to navigate this holiday season in a way that you can enjoy it, right? Because at the end of the day, we still want to connect with our loved ones who are able to connect with us and enjoy the magic of the season as much as we can. So I hope this has been helpful. Please like, subscribe, or drop me a comment, and I'll be back next week with another message.